like whenever I perform, I want to take people somewhere. Or I think, to me, that's the gauge of success of a performance, is have you transported people somewhere? Have you taken someone somewhere for 10 minutes for this duration of this piece and brought people back, and perhaps in another way, to see how music could be made from mundane things, or to trigger a type of memory or an association, or maybe it's a dreamed space, maybe it's an imagined space, but to really remove yourself in a way from the moment that you're in to go somewhere. And I feel like visuals always elevate that type of environment or experience. Whenever I perform, I look at two things. I look at the acoustics, and which of course is intrinsically connected to the architecture of the place or the visuals of the place. If there is an architecture to work with, then I work with the balcony or the features or the organ, or things that I can fold into my repertoire that allude to the architecture around me. Ways that kind of deconstruct the idea of a program being a presentation to being much more of an experience. And if I don't have that, then I go the multimedia route, where we bring the environment and we bring it in projections. And so then we can induce an environment that can create that sense of transport. Usually it starts with the sound. It's an intriguing sound that I hear that I don't know why it disturbs me, or it's curious, or it sounds old. I'm like, how does a sound old? And I try to unpack that. And I try to think about how a sound next to another tone or another object can create either a resonant relationship or an ironic resonant relationship. Like how a really violent bass beat next to something really peaceful in the mid-range can live together in the same space. This idea of kind of simultaneity of emotions and like the roiling atmosphere that I think are alive in us all the time. I think what's interesting about the visual that I keep seeing in my head whenever I create loops and tracks, and also when I ride the subway, is, you know how dots splay at the side of a turntable? And they seem to be going at different speeds. Sometimes they're like, some is faster than the other. It's very much like stock market ticker tape. And I think that that's what's happening in our minds and in our bodies all the time. There are many planes and many layers of our consciousness and subconsciousness working. And I think when we tap into certain speeds or certain tempos, we allow that to be lit or illuminated in some ways. I have radically different thoughts in the subway or when I'm moving than when I'm stationary. And I think that is part of that idea, that when I'm moving and working at a certain speed, there's just different thoughts that come out than when I'm first waking. Very stationary, it's very meditative. And so I try to think about that when I create sounds and loops and build sonic structures together. How can we create this idea of multiple tempos or circular time, where the synergy of how they line up or don't line up is kind of the interesting tension. Sunken Cathedral is a multimedia release in the sense that it is a record as well as a series of interactive music videos. It's also a design object, so as a fine art LP, and also going to be turned into a full theatrical stage multimedia production with Beth Morrison Projects and Here Art Center. So it's all 4 dimensions of this project that has come together to really build out this larger aesthetic that I feel is at the center of my work, which is spatial acoustic music, or the idea of music and architecture. When I compose music or when I perform music, I see music. I see color, I see space, I see what type of memory I want to paint, what time period are we in. I'm always very aware of what kind of musical space-time we're in and how we can imbue that in music or in gesture or in visuals. And so I really wanted to come up with a release plan that touched upon all of these ideas of your senses, that it's not just a sonic experience and kind of this psychoacoustic experience of triggers of association and memory and time and space, but also a visual experience with the music videos, basically art films scored to music. And the design object is kind of the tactile, visceral way of opening it, and how the object unfolds is a different experience, which then leads everyone hopefully to the theatrical show. Humans are social creatures, and at the end of the day, performance and bringing everyone together in a room is something you will never be able to replace. So ultimately, it should all come back to this entire idea of the cathedral being a metaphor of how we come together in a communal space, and also space that is archetypal, that is divine, that's personal as well as universal, hopefully.